Alright, so we are back. This is part 2 for this crochet top, and we are going to get started. This is one full repeat of our pattern. So we last left off here, and we're going to be doing several repeats of this in order to form the sleeve and chest portion of our top. So I'm going to show you how you go ahead and move on up. So this would technically be the 4th row that we're about to start. So we're going to do rows 4, 5, and 6 in this tutorial for sure. If I can squeeze in any more, then I definitely will. But from there, you'll be able to just continue doing the repeats of the pattern. So in my design for the larger sizes, starting with size 1X, I did 5 repeats of the pattern because I did want a roomy sleeve and all of that. But I will have down in the description the number of repeats of the pattern that you need to do to create your specific size. And of course, you can always do less or more repeats, which is this right here, the full pattern, all 3 rows. You can do less or more of those depending on how you want your top to fit. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got my yarn still attached, obviously, since we're just moving on up, and we're going to chain 1. So we're going to go ahead and do a chain 1, and now we're going to turn our work. So right here in this very first stitch, this is a double crochet from the previous row, we're going to go directly into the top of that double crochet, and we're going to grab our yarn, pull up a loop, and we're going to do a single crochet right here. So we're going to grab, pull through 2. So we're doing a single crochet right there. Now we're about to begin the repeat for this row. You are going to go ahead and chain 2, 1 and 2, and you're going to jump right over here to this chain 2 space. So you're skipping over all of these puffs and coming right here to that first chain 2. And now you're going to do 5 double crochets around this chain 2. So you're just going to go ahead, grab up your yarn, grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2 in order to do a double crochet. So again, we're going to wrap our yarn, go back down around this chain 2. We're going to grab and pull up a loop. We are going to grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2, and that's our second double crochet. So we've got to do 3 more of those, working all right around this chain 2. So here's number 3 for me, number 4, and number 5. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to jump over here. Let's take a look at our work. So we're now at this repeat of the pattern. We are going to skip over this puff, and come right here into this center chain 2 space. So we're in between. We're going to have 2 on this side and 2 over here on this side. So in this chain 2 space, we're going to go ahead and do 3 single crochets. So we're going to go ahead and grab our yarn, pulling up a loop, grab and pull through 2. That's our first single crochet. Here is our second, and here is our third. And that is the end of your repeat. So your repeat begins again. I'm going to do this one more time with you. Repeat begins with a chain 2, 1 and 2. And we are going to jump over here. We're going to be skipping these last 2 puffs and coming right here into that chain 2 space. And what are we going to do there? We're going to do the 5 double crochets. So here's 1, 2, working all around that chain 2, 3, here's number 4, and last but not least, number 5. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to jump over here. We're now at this repeat of the pattern, and we're going to come right here in the center chain 2 space and do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now your repeat's going to begin again. You're going to be chaining 2, doing the 5 double crochets here in this next chain 2 space. It's directly in between 2 of our finished repeats on the pattern. So you're going to work in that same manner all the way down, doing chain 2, 5 double crochets into the chain 2 space, chain 2, then you're going to do 3 single crochets in the center of your repeat on this pattern, and you start all over again. So keep working in the same way, going all the way down, and we'll meet back up when you get to the end of your row. And we're meeting back up here at the end of the row. I've already got my chain 2 right here on my hook. So now we're at the very end of the row, and you are going to be looking over here to this chain 5 that we started that row out with. So we're going to count up to the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go into that 3rd chain, making sure we get underneath both loops. And we're going to do a single crochet to end out our row. So if you stop and take a look, you've got a nice, clean, straight edge. And this is what your work is looking like after completing this row. So now we're going to go ahead and move on up to our next row. And in order to do that, we're going to do a chain, and then we're going to turn our work. We're going to go right back into the same single crochet that we just created. We're going to work directly into that very first stitch, and we're going to do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to move over here. We're now at our section with the 5 double crochets. And just like before, we're going to be working into this very first stitch, doing 2 double crochets right there into that first stitch. There's my first one. And now here's my second, going right there into that very first stitch. Now in the next 3 stitches, we're going to do 1 double crochet into the top of each and every one. So here's our 3rd one, 4th, for this row, there's 4 so far, and here's number 5. And now here in this very last stitch in this section, we're going to place 2 double crochets. So here's double crochet number 6 and number 7. So we've taken that 5 double crochets down here and turned them into 7. So now we're going to go ahead and chain 2, 1 and 2, and this is going to begin our repeat for this row. We're going to go right here. We've got 3 single crochets. We're going to go right there in that center one, the second one, and do a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we are going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to do 2 double crochets here into this. We're in the 5 double crochet section. We're going to do 2 double crochets right there into that first stitch. So there's 1, here's 2. Now we're going to work a double crochet into the next 3 stitches, 1 in the top of each one. 2. And now we're here at this very last stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets into the very last stitch in that section. That's a double crochet from the previous row, and that ends your repeat. So now we're going to start that repeat again together. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we're here with our single crochets. We're going to go in that center single crochet and do a single crochet. We're going to chain 2. Now we're here at the 5 double crochets. We're going to work 2 stitches into the very first one, 2 double crochets in that first stitch. There's 1, here's 2. Now we're going to work a double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, 1 in each. So there's that one. Now we're into this one, and right here into this one. And now here we are at our very last stitch. We're going to place 2 double crochets into that very last stitch. There's the first one, Here is the second. So now we have a total of 7 double crochets in this section. So now we're going to do our repeat again. You're going to chain 2, do a single crochet in the center single crochet, chain 2, and now we're at our 5 double crochets. We're going to work 2 into the very first stitch. So we're going right there in that first one, doing 2, 1 and 2. Now we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So this is our 3rd double crochet for this section. Here's our 4th and our 5th right here. And now we're going to do 6 and 7 all in this very last stitch. So you're going to go ahead, and this is the end of the repeat once you complete that 7th double crochet. So now you're going to go ahead and pause here and work out the rest of your row, and we'll meet back up at the end of your row to do that last stitch together. Alright, so we're here at the end of the row. I've already got a chain 2 on my hook, and we're going to go ahead and identify that single crochet that we did right here at the beginning of the row. So if you need help doing that, you can look at your work from this angle and you can see your single crochet really easily. So we're going to go into that stitch and we're going to do a single crochet. And that is what you have here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to need to move on up to our next row. So we're going to go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And let's go ahead and turn our work. And we can go ahead and chain one more time, so we'll have a total of chain 4 right there at the beginning. And now we're going to go ahead and start working our puff stitches. So we've got a chain 4 on our hook. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, and right here in this very first double crochet, we're going to insert and start pulling up our loop. So I'm pulling up once. We do this a total of 3 times, twice. Rock that hook back to pull up. You want it nice and tall. You want to pull your loop up nice and tall. So I've done it 3 times. I'm going to grab and pull through those 6, and then I'm going to grab and pull through the last 2. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook only 1 time. We're going to skip this next stitch and move into the 3rd in this section. We're going to insert and start pulling up our loops. So we're going to go ahead and pull up a loop, wrap again, insert into that same stitch and pull up a loop, wrap again, insert into that same exact stitch and pull up a loop. So now if you count, you've got your 6 loops that you just pulled up plus the one that was already on your hook for 7. So we're going to go ahead and grab and pull through those first 6 loops, leaving just these 2, grab and pull through those 2. Now we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2, and we're going to be skipping this very next stitch and going into the next, which is going to be the 5th stitch in this section. So if you're counting your stitches, you're going into number 5. So we're going to go in, we've got our yarn wrapped around our hook, we're going to pull up a loop nice and tall. We're going to wrap again, go back down in that same exact stitch and grab and pull up a loop nice and tall. And we're going to do it for the 3rd time, pulling up our loop. We're going to check our count. If we take a look, we've got our 6 that we just pulled up plus the one that was already on our hook. So we're going to grab and pull through those first 6 loops. We're going to grab and pull through the last 2, and then you can pull in the back to tighten down. I just tug back there, that's all I do. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to be skipping this next stitch and going here into the last one in this section. And we're going to wrap our yarn, and we're going to go right into that last stitch, and we're going to start pulling up our loops. We do it a total of 3 times if you remember. So there's number 1, here is number 2, and here is number 3. Check our counts, and we're going to go ahead and pull through those first 6 loops, grab and pull through the last 2. So now your repeat's going to begin for this row. You're going to chain 2, And you're going to be skipping over here to this section, and you're going to complete the same thing. You're going to do your puffs all the way across, skipping 1 stitch in between. So we're right here in that first stitch, and we're going to go in 3 times. There's my second. Wrap and pull up a loop. 3rd time. Check your count. Now we're going to grab and pull through 6 of those loops, and then grab and pull through the last 2. Now we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip this very next stitch and go right here into the next. Insert our hook. It's already wrapped. I'm going to pull up a loop. We're going to wrap again. We're going to go back down that same exact stitch and pull up a loop. We're going to wrap again, go back down that same exact stitch and pull up a loop. Check your count. You're going to have 6 loops that you pulled up plus the one on your hook. You're going to pull through the first 6 loops, leaving just these 2. Now you're going to grab and pull through those last 2 loops. Chain 2 again, and you're going to repeat the same step and skip 1 stitch and go into the next, pulling up your loops. And you go in the 3 times, and then you will be able to complete out that puff. And we're going to chain 2 again. We're going to skip the next stitch and go into this next one and complete that out. And then your repeat is done. So you're going to chain 2 and carry on the same exact manner, going ahead and completing these 4 puffs across this double crochets. There's 7 of them, and you're going to do a puff in every other stitch. So you're going to go ahead and pause here, and then we will meet back up at the end of the row to finish out. Alright, so we're back here at the end of our row. You completed your last puff for this section right here. So you've done another repeat. So far, we've done 2 full repeats of our pattern. So we're going to chain 1, and you are going to wrap your yarn to do a double crochet. You're going to come down here to that single crochet that we had placed at the beginning of this row. So you're going to locate your single crochet, and you're going to go ahead and go into that stitch and do a double crochet. And that's going to complete out this row. So now to move up, and this will be the last portion of how to do the stitch, we'll be coming back. I'm going to show you how to work in the other side and get yourself set up to do the other side of your top, the arm and chest. And then we're going to be working on how you place your stitches to do the body portion. So I'm going to show you real quickly how you begin and end this next row, because that's the last that you're going to need, because from there you're just going to be repeating the same thing over and over. So just like we had started out way down here back on row 1, we're going to now place 3 double crochets at the beginning of the row. So we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3 to move here on to row 7 basically. We're going to turn our work, and then we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, and we are going to go ahead and place another double crochet right there into that very first stitch. So that chain 3 is counting as our first double crochet. Now we're going to do our 3rd double crochet right there in that same stitch. So you're going to place 3 double crochets right there in the top of that double crochet from the previous row. Now we're going to chain 2, and this chain 2 begins our repeat for this row. We're going to be coming over here. We're now at one of our completed patterns. We're going to skip these first 2 puffs, and we're going to go right here in this center chain 2 space, and we're going to complete 3 single crochets right there into that chain 2 space. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to come over here, skipping over these 2 puffs, and we're going to come into this chain 2 space that's in between our 2 patterns, and we're going to place 5 double crochets into that chain 2 space. There's 1, here's number 2, here's number 3, here's number 4, and number 5. And that ends out our repeat for this row. So from here, you're just going to chain 2 again. That starts your repeat. You're going to come over here and skip these puffs and go here into the center chain 2 space and place your 3 single crochets. There's number 2 and number 3. And then we chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to be jumping over, skipping over these 2 puffs. And we're coming right here into that chain 2 space in between our 2 pattern repeats. And we're placing our 5 double crochets. 2. Here's number 3. Here's number 4. And number 5 ends our repeat. So you can go ahead and pause here and I'll meet back up with you just to do the end of your row. Alright, so we're here at the end of our row and I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 2. I've just done my 3 single crochets right there in the center of that pattern. So now I've done my chain 2 and we are here at the end of the row with the chain 4 that we began with. So we're going to count up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go into that 3rd chain, and that is where we're going to be doing our 3 double crochets. So we're right here in the top of that 3rd chain. We're going to make sure we go under both loops, and we are going to do 3 double crochets into this chain, all into that same chain space right there, or same chain, same stitch is what I'm trying to say. So we're going to do 3 double crochets, and that ends out our row. Now from here, you can repeat the pattern as many times as you need to. You can follow down the description, but you'll be working from row 2 on up, and row 2 unfortunately is in the part 1 video. But to go ahead and get you started, you're just going to do the same thing that you did at the beginning. You're going to chain up 3, you're going to turn your work, and then you're going to place a double crochet right here into the very next stitch, because this chain 3 is acting as our first double crochet and it's taking care of this very first stitch in the row. So now we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet right here into the 2nd stitch, just to kind of give you guys a reminder, a refresher. And then here in this 3rd stitch, we're going to be placing 2 double crochets. 1 and 2 right there in that same exact stitch. And then your repeats are just like what you've been doing. You're going to chain 2 to begin your repeat. You're going to come over here. You're at your 3 single crochets. You're going to work right there into the center single crochet. So into that 2nd one and do a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And you're going to jump over here. You're now at your 5 double crochets. So we're going to do 2 into that very first double crochet. So same exact thing that you've been doing. Remember, this was a 3-row repeat, so it's super easy to remember. 2 double crochets into the first stitch, then 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then in that very last stitch in this section, you're going to place 2 double crochets. So we're here at the last stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And that ends out your repeat for this row. So you're just going to continue on up or continue on down your row, working in the same exact manner. And when you get to your end of your row, we'll meet back up and do that real quickly together. Alright, so we're meeting back up here at the end of your row. You've got these 3 double crochets at the end of the row. So here in the very first stitch, right here, that's where we're going to place our 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and here is 2. Now you're going to go ahead and place a double crochet into the very next stitch. And now we're at our chain 3 that began this row. So we're going to count up from the bottom. 1, 2, and 3. And make sure we go right there on the top of that 3rd chain and do our last double crochet. Now we're going to be able to go ahead and start with a chain 5 to begin our next row. So I've got 4 and 5. So chain 5, and then we're going to turn our work. And now we're going to begin doing our row of puffs. So I'm Here, right here, I've just done this chain 5, and that's covering this very first stitch. So we're going to work right here in the very next stitch to do our puff. So we've got our yarn wrapped around our hook one time. We're going to go here into that second stitch, grab and pull up a loop and pull it up nice and tall. We're going to do it a total of 3 times. So here's number 2, nice and tall. And here is number 3. Just like so. Now we're going to grab and pull through those first 6 loops, leaving just these 2 on our hook, and we're going to grab and pull through those last 2. And now you chain 2, 1 and 2, and you skip this very next stitch and you go right here into this last one in this section, and you do another puff stitch. So you just grab and pull up a loop nice and tall, wrap again, go back into that same stitch, pulling up a loop nice and tall. And you do that a total of 3 times, as I'm sure you guys know by now. And we're going to go ahead and finish that off. Now from here, we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're going to be skipping over the single crochet down here. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that, and we're going to go right here into this first stitch. So we're now over here into our 7 double crochets, and we're going to work in the same exact manner as we have been. We're going to go into that first one and complete a puff. Just like so. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to go ahead and skip the next stitch, go into that third, complete a puff. We're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2. We're going to skip this very next stitch and go here into the next, which is the 5th one in this row, or in this section. And complete that puff. We're going to chain 2 one more time, and we're going to skip this next stitch and go right here into the 7th one in that section, last stitch, and we are going to complete our puff. And then our repeat starts over again. We just chain 2, 1 and 2, and we go ahead and move on to the next section. We're going to skip over all of this down here, this chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, and move immediately over here into the section with our 7 double crochets. So we're just going to keep working in that same manner, and then you're going to complete the number of repeats of the pattern, and all of that's noted down below in the description of what exactly you need to do, how many rows, how many repeats, but you're going to complete that out. We've done 3 together, so you only have a few more. Some of you will be able, in the smaller sizes, to actually stop here or do 1 more depending on how you want your top to fit. But all of that information and adjustments is down in the description. So we will be coming back next to work in the other side of our foundation ovals that we began with. So you do not have to create more foundation ovals, like a whole nother set of them. We're going to have to add on a strand of foundation ovals, and I'll show you all of that here in just a moment. So go ahead and complete out the number of repeats that you need so that you can finish your you're doing your sleeve and your chest portion of your top. So you'll continue to work in the same manner, and then you will reach, once you've reached the desired number of repeats, we'll be able to move on from there and work on the other side, and I'll show you exactly what you need to know in order to form your neck opening and work the other part of the panel. So we will be back in just a moment and continue on working this top. Alright, so we are here at the end of the row, and I just wanted to add this in so that you guys, just in case you need a refresher, we're at the end of the row. We've got these 2 puffs already completed. There's only 4 double crochets down here at the end of the row. So we're going to chain 2, and we are going to do a double crochet in the 3rd stitch up from the bottom here on this previous row. So 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to make sure we get into the top of that 3rd stitch, and we're going to do a double crochet. If you remember how you started this row, you started with a chain 5, which counted as a double crochet, chain 2 space. So now from here, it is back to repeating what we've already done. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to be doing the single crochet right here at the beginning into this very first stitch. So we're just going to go into that same stitch and do our single crochet, and then we chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're able to jump over here into this chain 2 space that is in between our 2 patterns. Let me move that out of the way so you can see. We're going to come right here into that chain 2 space, and we're going to do 5 double crochets. So it's all more of the same what you've already done. So same repeat from here on, and we're going to meet back up in just a moment, and I'm going to show you how you get set up to do the other side and how we're going to work in those foundation ovals again. So we're going to be moving on to that next. Chain 2 and single crochet, just in case anybody's needing a refresher on the repeat for this row. It's all what we've done before. All right, so we'll be back in a moment to work the other side.